6 candidates are in the running for 3 seats on the Cupertino City Council. As part of the City Channel's ongoing coverage of this race toward Election Tuesday, you're about to see an up-close and personal introduction to one of those 6 candidates. This is Candidate Roundtable with tonight's featured City Council candidate, Dolly Sandoval.
Hello. Welcome to another edition of Candidate Roundtable. I'm Roberta Holloman, your moderator. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Cupertino Sunnyvale. Joining me today are candidate Dolly Sandoval and our media panelist Mei Hui Huang, South Bay Bureau Chief of the World Journal, a Chinese language daily, and Sandy Sims, editor of the Cupertino Courier. Ms. Sandoval was elected to the Cupertino City Council in November 2001. She was a member of the Foothill De Anza College Board from 1991 to 2001. She serves on the board of directors for 2 nonprofits, the Role Model Program and Cupertino Community Services. She earned a BA in mathematics and a teaching credential from the University of California, Santa Cruz. She teaches math at Los Gatos High School. Dolly, why are you running for City Council?
Thanks, great question. I was born in this area, born and raised, and feel that I just have a great passion and desire for community service work. I teach in the area locally and would like to continue on as a City Council representative. I've been focusing on education, youth services, the library, public safety, and just feel like there's a lot more to do over the next few years.
Thank you. Would one of you like to start with a question?
Yes. Hi, Dolly. I remember same room 4 years ago I interviewed you. I still remember the passion. I do think you still have the passion, but is the passion different from last time? And was the first term turn out just exactly what you expected, or it was different?
That's a nice reflective question. I still have the passion, I still have the energy and the drive. I love going out and talking to community members about what it is they'd like to see the city develop into. And there's still quite a bit of excitement around our agendas when people come to talk to our meetings. It's nice to see people involved in the democratic process. So in that regard, it's still equally as exciting, and yet it's also very challenging. I mean, over the last few years, the state has taken away hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. We've had to either cut services or limit services. We've cut employees, and those are always very, very tough decisions. We have a number of community organizations that we fund that we had to cut part of their budgets, and those are also tough choices to make. But in terms of whether I want to continue serving and feel like I have the talent to continue serving, I think I do. I think I've been a solution creator on this council.
Some of those tough things that you deal with are coming up quite a bit, especially with the new general plan, like affordable housing. Do you have you strategies that you've thought about to deal with that, or?
Well, you know, the city has a current 15% below market rate policy included in each development that comes to the city. And that's a 15% minimum of below market rate housing or affordable housing component for a development. That's one of the strategies, but as I've talked more, and there's been a couple of reports that have come out recently from developers in the Home Business Authority have thought of other ways to provide affordable housing. One of the things that I do that's, I think, not necessarily directly connected to city council work is I serve on the Cupertino Community Services Board, and of course we have the 23-unit Vista Village Affordable Housing Unit. I talked to my colleagues on the council to buying a plot of land that Caltrans was selling, and we hope to build our own 3 or 4 unit affordable housing project there. And that's going through the paperwork right now, but I think we'll have some pretty interesting bidders coming in to help us decide what to build.
Yeah. And I know that you're a biker. But I'd like to know your idea about to solve the traffic congestion, not only in this city, but the region. I bet you have some ideas.
Absolutely, I do. I serve as the VTA, the Valley Transportation Authority representative for the council here, and I also serve as the West Valley Cities representative on the VTA. So I'm integrally involved with public policy matters on regional transportation issues. Currently in Cupertino, we're exploring a mini shuttle bus system that maybe can serve residents. And my idea that VTA and I are talking about is, for example, taking residents from Rancho San Antonio Forum Retirement Home, bringing them down to the city of Cupertino during the day, and yet on the peak hours, first thing in the morning and then early afternoon, having those same buses serve our school sites to relieve some of the streets, our local streets of school traffic congestion. So to me, it's more than just what's going on in Cupertino, but the region as a whole. Yet there's some very simple ideas if we partnership with each other that I think we can bring to making solutions. The other thing is I've been a huge advocate of Safe Streets program that we have here in Cupertino, Bike to Work Day, Bike to School Day, in trying to get people out of their car and using other modes of transportation, whether it's carpooling with other families or walking and bicycling. And you're right, I'm a biker. You see me biking all over the city many hours of the day. So to me, it's the easiest way to get around town. And cheap on the gas budget at this point.
Yeah. Well, another area that is a problem for Cupertino is the retail business. So what are some of your thoughts and strategies to, well, for example, the Anderson's is gone, and that's a big part of our tax base.
Absolutely. When Anderson Chevrolet left us, that left an immediate $300,000 annual gap in our operating budget. Now, $300,000 sounds like a lot of money, but let me put that in a little bit of a context. That's 10% of our operating budget. And so that's a huge decrease, excuse me. People have asked if there's going to be a coffee shop or bagel shop there, and quite frankly, Anderson Chevrolet is still paying the rent on that property, and the owners haven't entertained any ideas of other shops coming in there. But you got to sell a lot of bagels to make $300,000 worth of revenue occur. So I'm not sure what's going to happen on that spot. Retail in general, though, in Cupertino has been very hard hit. I think part of it started with the internet buying spree that many people went on. As I talked to people about the not having a bookstore here in Cupertino, I asked them when was the last time they actually went into Stacy's bookstore or a clean, well-lighted place when they were here. Well, Stacy's bookstore sold a lot of technical books, and they had a great children's section, but people saw it as a technical bookstore. Yet they could order anything you wanted, but it took a couple of days to get. People would rather, and many people that I talk to in town, would rather order from Amazon.com, get it within 2 days, not have to pay sales tax, and not have to pay shipping. To me, we have to rethink how do we shop in Cupertino. So it's not enough to just have the stores here. We have to change our habits so we actually utilize those spaces. If you look up and down our main thoroughfares right now, you'll see a lot of vacancy. And so we need to attract quality retail merchants in here. Also, with most of the developments that have come forward to the council over the last 4 years, we've insisted on some quality retail space to accompany housing or office, whatever they're asking to build. And so at Valco, I think we've added an additional 50,000 square feet for the Rose Bowl project that they have. Over the Menlo Equities has got tens of thousands square feet added. But again, we need to have quality people take up the quality retailers, take those spaces, and then we need a real Shop Cupertino mentality. I tried to get the staff to print up bumper stickers at one point that said Shop Cupertino, but that idea unfortunately never came to fruition, but that's the kind of mentality we do need when we're looking around. I personally would like to see bookstore, office, stationery store. I'm forever going out of this town to buy some basic stationery.
Yeah, actually to follow up about the long-term development. I think for this coming November election, people not only want to know who got elected as our city council, they also are eager to know if the 3 initiative measurement, if they pass or not. That's a big issue here. What's your reading to those 3C measurement, initiative measurement?
I am on the no on ABC side. I think these initiatives, while well-meaning, harm the city in greater ways than one can imagine at this moment. Let me give you a couple examples how. One of the initiatives talks about setbacks. Well, if you have a plot of land on Stevens Creek, similar to the Lori Shopping Center at Tantau, then you've got a plot of land that's about 100 yards wide and maybe 70 yards deep. If the initiatives ask you to take 35 feet right away and not build on it, that's almost a taking of somebody's land. What the initiatives don't answer is, if a landowner sues the city, then who pays for that lawsuit? Well, if the city loses, then it's the taxpayers, it's the residents, it's you and I that will end up paying for that lawsuit. I don't think that's what the initiative writers intended, but because it's not even mentioned on how to deal with lawsuits, that's an unintended consequence that will severely hinder the budget of the city of Cupertino. So on the initiatives in general, I think for each one, there are unintended consequences that we can't address at the moment and that aren't written in the initiatives. On the other hand, I think we've provided projects that are just marvelous for this city. Pete's Coffee and Panera Breads. Those wouldn't have been able to be built without a citywide vote of the people approving a 2-foot exception in the setback rule. 2 feet. Now, some of the backers of the initiatives state that people don't want to sit out on Stevens Creek and eat their sandwich and drink coffee. Well, I'll tell you, Pete's Coffee and Panera Breads
Full house.
have been full house since they opened. And it doesn't stop there. If you look at BJ's in Cupertino over by Apple, you can't get in there on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night without a long wait. Sitting on the streetscape there is exciting to people. And as a policy leader, it's exciting to me. Makes our city look alive and energetic.
Well, and following up a little bit on that too, what is your feeling about big box stores in Cupertino?
I've probably been the council member up on the dais the most opposed to big box stores. And I'll tell you why. One, I think we have some medium box stores that are struggling and need help. And that's Macy's, and it's Sears, and it's Penny's, and it's Mervyn's, and it's Target. It's not a big Costco, but they all sell about the same thing. Now, none of the stores I mentioned that are in town have that food component, but we have grocery stores here. We probably could use a couple more, quite frankly, especially on my end of town. But we have medium box stores that need help by current residents shopping there now. To me, big box stores like a Costco ask for so much parking, 35 acres of parking. The reason why they ask for that much parking is because they generate that much traffic. So when you think about a big box going in possibly on Stevens Creek, take that Anderson Chevrolet spot, you've got Stelling then that's jam-packed with people wanting to get to that one store. So some people in our city finance director definitely really likes the thought of big box sales tax revenue. I think in the long run, it's not worth it to the city. You not only have to subsidize that company for coming here, but then you have a lot of space that's not being used effectively for anything else.
So, yeah, I'm sorry.
Did you want to follow up?
Well, it's just quickly. I mean, it sounds like you, like everybody, like to maintain the suburban neighborhood of Cupertino. But again, we need the money. We need to generate more money to solve our deficit problem. It looks like it's hard to combine these two.
Oh, I don't think it's hard at all. I am in favor of protecting current neighborhoods. I'm not talking about putting even a medium box store in an existing neighborhood, or building high-density housing in an existing neighborhood. Those neighborhoods are already here. But on our main traffic corridors, Stevens Creek, De Anza Boulevard, Homestead Road, that's where we should be looking at some of this major development. Borders would love to come to Cupertino. We need a good spot for them. It cannot be back to a neighborhood. That would impact our neighborhood too much. So I just think we need to really think outside of the box and be creative about those solutions. Thank you.
Let me pause for a minute here to tell you about some election resources. You will find information on the candidates for City Council and the ballot measures that are on the ballot for this November at the city's website, cupertino.org. And for nonpartisan election information on state issues and the local candidates and local measures, you can go to the League of Women Voters website, smartvoter.org. So,
Continue?
Continue now.
Well, another issue that comes up a lot and is a hot topic are trails. And I guess the most recent is probably the Regnart Trail. Where are you on trails?
I use trails. I teach over at Los Gatos High, so I use the Vasona Trail quite a bit to get my exercise on, and that is a trail that's right up against some houses and right up to their backyard fences. The housing came in after the trails, though, in that area, or at least after the trail was very well identified. So it's a little bit different instance than here. As we develop Blackberry Farm, we're going to have a great trail go through that area. The council as a whole has voted to make that a multi-use trail, so bicyclists, walkers, people pushing strollers, skaters, etc., will be able to utilize that trail. I think that's very exciting. Some of the other trails that are being discussed, and one of them you mentioned was the Regnart Creek Trail, are a little bit more tentative in my mind in terms of support. Let me tell you why. First, there's two different pieces of that Regnart Creek Trail that people are talking about, but I think the issues are the same for both of them. Both abut current existing neighborhoods. I think when people think of trails and the access of everyone having being right outside their backyard raises a security concern, completely valid security concern. So when we go ahead and plan an urban trail, I think what we need to look for is make sure that security is taken care of. And the Sheriff's Department has been very good with providing us information on trails and crime and that type of thing. So we'll need to delve into that more. We'll need to look at, is this a place that really connects someplace, point A in the city to point B, that people will travel on? If it's a trail just to have a trail for a trail's sake, well, that doesn't make any sense. And then lastly, I think the neighbors have to really be supportive of it. You can't design a project where the residents that are going to be directly affected to it are 100% against it. So there's got to be a lot of thought in terms of when we build a trail, how is it built? Having said that, though, since you raised the general plan question, we do have a lot of trails on the general plan that we'd like to explore. And it doesn't mean that those will be built. But I think it's good to have them on the books in terms of where do we want to see these trails go in the future if we could redesign things.
Dolly, you're a teacher, and Cupertino, where you serve, is, well, most talk about by people for its good schools, good educations, and you, if you got elected again, how are you going to have more networking with school district to help them keep their level of excellence?
Right. Education is my other passion, and what we've done here at the city is devised a number of partnerships. Some that were, of course, pre-existing before I got here. But, you know, the city pays for the field maintenance of every school site field. And that way the school can use it during the day, and we can have sports teams use it on the weekends and after school, which is a great partnership. The city helps pay for a school resource officer, which helps kids in need that are on the verge of getting in trouble, and some, quite frankly, already in trouble, and gives that school SRO gives skills, parenting skills, brings the school district in on some of the issues, and helps educate everybody all the way around. We also have a great after-school program with many of our school sites, and the proudest one is the newest and proudest are over at Cupertino High School with the pool and then the weekend table tennis, etc. that Michael Chang and I push so hard for. So those are some of the more youth-oriented activities we have with the schools. At two of our school sites, Garden Gate and Hyde Middle School, we have ARCs. And the ARCs hold emergency preparedness materials in case we have some kind of an earthquake or other calamity that neighborhoods can go and reach out to right away. Because it's not necessarily true that everyone will be able to come here to City Hall to get help. So those play a vital role in making sure that we are safe and secure. And I've pushed that from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So along those lines, the schools, of course, are like the city struggling with budget cuts and so on. How do you see the city helping in those ways?
Well, like I said, we're paying for the field maintenance ourselves. That costs the city almost $1 million a year. We're picking up the cost of one of the school resource officers, which indirectly helps the city because healthy residents help us be a healthy community. And so we're paying for that so the school district doesn't have to. While they're housing the ARCs, we paid for those supplies. But, both the city of Cupertino and the Cupertino Elementary School District are the lowest funded entities of their kind in the state. We only get 4 cents off of every property tax dollar. CUSD only gets 4 cents off of every dollar they have for their students too. It's a very, very bad situation, but I think we do a hell of a job for being only 4 cents on the dollar.
It's interesting when I'm reading that you want to make Cupertino even a better place to live, work, raise a family, and retire.
Yep.
Although that's a long time away from you. A place to retire. Do you think Cupertino is a friendly city for elderly people?
May, I think we're getting friendlier. I think some of the walkability designs that we have, for example, on many busy intersections now, we've got countdown markers on those pedestrian lights. That's good for people of all ages, but particularly elderly, who can look at that and say 4 seconds before the light changes, I'm not going to get in this crosswalk. They can start using their own problem-solving skills. We hired a case manager. We continued to fund a case manager over at the senior center. It was suggested we cut those funds and save that money, but the council felt strong enough that no, we needed someone there at the senior center to help our seniors combat senior abuse, help them with their financial situations, etc. We have some other programs that I think are very worthwhile for seniors.
But more and more people, when they're getting certain age, they got attracted by the price of the houses. They tend to sell the house and move away. Do you see many cases like that?
I think there are some cases of that nature. Sure, people will cash in and get more bang for their buck in Palm Springs or some other not so expensive place to live. I mean, we are one of the highest across the country. But I think at the same time, we're trying to keep seniors here and provide them with services that they need and desire. We have a pretty active senior program over at the senior center, too.
Yeah.
So Cupertino is extremely diverse,
Yes.
changing more and more. How have you been involved with bringing groups together or meeting the needs of all this widely diverse community?
Absolutely, great question. When I served on the Foothill De Anza Community College Board, it was equally as diverse. Here in Cupertino, we have a minority population now, which is really exciting, actually. I do a number of things. First, I was the city's representative to the 5 Cs, which is the Cupertino Cross-Cultural Consortium, and I can't remember what the 5th C stands for, but Roberta probably knows. Citizens. Cupertino Citizens for Cross-Cultural Communication, which has a lot of lecture series, discussions, etc. It's the first Wednesday of every month during the regular school year. Check our website for more info. There's an exciting program coming up in October. I go to the Pavan School, which is the Iranian school at De Anza on Sundays, and speak to them several times a year. I go to a number of different club functions, APOLI, the parent organization for the school district kids, and find myself going really all over the place to speak to and hear from the needs of our diverse community. And diversity is not just ethnic also, it's age and occupation. I mean, we have a lot of different people that make up the city of Cupertino, and it's exciting to talk to all of them.
Well, how do you think the city's doing along those lines?
I think they're doing great, actually. We do a survey every 2 years, and then we have other ways, less formal ways of talking to people. And every year, or every 2 years when we do that survey, the results come back as there are specific questions. How do you feel if you're in this ethnic group? How do you feel you're accepted? How do you feel the programs are, etc.? And they come back with higher and higher marks. I mean, this past year, this past weekend, we did the 50th Jubilee celebration. New to the city, relatively new, is the Lunar New Year parade that happens in February usually. We do a moon festival now in August, the Iranian festival, which is also their moon festival, the Indian Diwali festival. So we do a great deal for different diversity groups, and I have fun participating in all of them.
To follow up that question, well, we're looking at about half of our population Asian, and but if you look at the commissioners in every committees or the staff in the city of Cupertino, it doesn't mean that we have 50% of Asian, then we have to allocate 50% of this and that. That's not what I mean. But do you think there's a room for improvement regarding the representation of different ethnic groups?
Well, first and foremost, let me say, when I look at commissioners or hires, and quite frankly, the only person the council hires is the city manager, and he's doing a great job and he hasn't left, so we're not replacing him. But when I look at commissioners, I look for who's going to serve the community the best on that commission.
And I'm going to ask you to wrap up.
Great. Well, we've appointed more diverse candidates over the last 4 years than the previous councils.
Things are changing.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your joining us, Dolly Sandoval, Mei Wei Wong, and Sandy Sims. And I hope that you will join us again for the next edition of Candidate Roundtable. Check the city's website for broadcast dates and times.